am Sean Callagy. It is Trajectory Tuesday. While you're watching this video, I will be in surgery potentially tomorrow morning, having a orthopedic repair done. So we're filming a lot of these videos ahead of time for the week, and hopefully that will all go swimmingly well. Did you guys know I was having surgery tomorrow? Most people?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so it is unsettling. It'll be the first surgery of my life, and I think it dovetails into some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, though, on Trajectory Tuesday. When we talk about Trajectory Tuesday, it's always thinking about how can we take where we are in the areas of our life and accelerate it to a very different place. And that's happening this week through the prism of what we began to talk about yesterday. Yesterday we began to talk about the fact that self-awareness is really the beginning to the production of the results we want, the life we want, the feelings we want, the emotions we want. And we said that everything is either an act of love or a loving response, or it's a cry for help. Everything that we think, do, don't do, everything everybody else thinks and does and doesn't do. Then we talked about yesterday, we promised to deliver, what are those cries for help really rooted in? And I think some of our team knows what those cries for help are rooted in. They are either a fear of failure or fear of rejection. So all things that we are, when we have these cries for help from ourselves, from other people, they're either a cry for help because of a fear of failure or a fear of rejection. And the magical place, though, is to realize what about these things? Do they actually exist? Does failure actually exist? Does rejection actually exist?
No.
It absolutely does not. Now, this is where it gets slightly complicated. Because, and why are we talking about all this? We're talking about all this to realize where we run ourselves into tremendous amounts of pain, right, and suffering, because we begin to feel fear, right? We begin to stop ourselves and not take action. And if we understood and knew, here's a great example of the opposite of fear of failure. If we knew that no matter what we did, it was going to work and produce everything we wanted, wouldn't we take action? Like, didn't all of you get in a car today, or Uber or something, some mechanism to get to work? Yes?
Yeah.
And why did you take those action steps?
Because we knew they would work.
Because you knew they would work, right? Now, why isn't it that you're out there deciding that today you're going to create a cure for some incurable disease? Why aren't you working on that around the clock? Why?
Don't know if it'll work.
You don't know if it's going to work, right? So in those two polar extremes, that's why people do and don't do things. But in addition, there's an ego component rooted in defining things as failure. We don't want to experience the feeling of failure. Does anybody here like failing?
No.
Okay. But what if you reframe the concept? And here's what I want to give you. These are short videos. We're going to do much more extended versions of this. This is about an hour-long topic that we're going to do in about 3 or 4 minutes today. And give you just the thumbnail part of it so you can begin to utilize and think about this information. There is nothing significant enough or final enough to actually equal failure. So that's your belief structure. There's nothing significant enough or final enough to equal failure. So, I had plenty of things that happened the right way. One of the most embarrassing, difficult moments in my life, a visual problem, one was beginning to affect me, was in college, and we're playing Army. I played for Columbia, we're playing Army, and I'm captain of the team. It's my senior year, and a fly ball got hit to me with the bases loaded, and we're up by 2 runs in the last inning. And there's 2 outs. So if I catch the fly ball, routine fly ball, game's over. I didn't see the fly ball. Ball hits the ground. Right? 3 runs score, we lose the game. So what do you think I'm immediately feeling and thinking about myself?
Failure.
I failed. I let the team down. I have this vision problem. I was selfish. I should have been out here. I was devastated to the most extreme level. This meant everything. It meant the world, right? But the reality is, it wasn't big enough or final enough to actually mean failure. And I just didn't understand that yet at that point. But it was devastating. It was devastating. It impacted me the rest of the season. It impacted my hitting. It impacted my leadership, my approach, because I felt so awful. Now, it doesn't mean, and actually, no, that's wrong. It's okay to feel awful, but it wasn't okay to define this failure and keep reliving that process. That's the key distinction. It wasn't big enough or final enough. Have I done tons of things since then that have been incredibly productive and helpful for people? Yes. Yeah. Have I done lots of things along the way that haven't worked out the way that I wanted them to, for me or for other people? Yes. Yeah. That's happened, right? And it's happened for every superstar athlete. It's happened for every movie star. People do, horrible things to themselves because they feel like their life is a failure no matter how much success they have. Because if it's not failure they're fearing, what's the other thing they're fearing? Rejection. And really, rejection is a loss of love. That's what people are feeling, a loss of love, or not being liked, being judged, negative things being said. And I heard from Dr. Michael Gervais. I just discovered his work recently, and I've been thinking about these topics and had it organized already. But he came up with a really cool phraseology called it FOPO, fear of other people's opinions, right? FOPO. And isn't that a huge thing? Like when you think about it, if you're going to jump up right now and take over from me, and go on to and shoot this video, would you want to do that right now? And do this content?
No.
Not really.
And if not, why? What are you fearing?
People are going to
People
be
are like
judged.
it.
Right. FOMO, right? Fear of other people's opinions, fear of rejection, fear of not being liked, fear of what if I look, somebody, my nameless said, I'm not camera ready, I don't look the way I want to look today. Right? What is that rooted in?
Fear of other people's opinion.
Yeah, which is rejection. Other people's opinion, fear of rejection. So, but what if we realize that there's a way that these two things are not true at all? And so we come back on Why Wednesday tomorrow, right? We're going to talk about, we talked a little about how to overcome that failure and how there's nothing big enough or final enough. We'll talk more about that. But also we're going to talk about how to eliminate the belief that rejection even exists. And then we're going to begin to tie it all together to realize how much this can massively forward our action and how much this has inhibited us our entire life, these fears. But before we do that really quickly, I'm going to throw it out for a quick question. Have you guys noticed at all, and again, anybody jump in, how fear of rejection or failure has been impacting you since we began talking about this just a few days ago? Anybody?
Yes.
Go ahead. Where's Justin?
I just have noticed it in my personal life with how I go about dealing with certain people who are in and out of my life, and how I go about interacting with them to come from a place of love instead of being ego-driven.
Right. And in that ego-driven moment, were you feeling some level of rejection or loss of love or judgment
Yes.
coming from them?
Yes.
Was that really what it was rooted in when you got yourself aggressive or fired up or you're coming from a place of ego?
No.
Okay. That wasn't before? Or
Oh, no, it wasn't, sorry.
It was before?
It
right?
was beforehand, yes.
All right. And I would say the same thing, that for a long time, a lot of the challenges I had, there are definitely people out there that think I'm pretty crazy, right? Because I would have super high volume velocity confronts when I didn't think people were doing the right thing and they were intentionally being corrupt or they were hurting kids and being self-interested and doing awful things. I'd be pretty vocal and confront at a high level. And I realized that was valuable to confront, but the lack of potentially empathy or understanding of the other people's emotions and how they got there, why they were behaving that way. And even if they were being totally corrupt, that they were feeling some fear of rejection of their children or failure, doesn't make it okay. And tomorrow I'm going to talk more about distinguishing between effective confronting of these issues, right, versus allowing these things to happen, even though we're coming from a place of empathy. So, hey, it's Trajectory Tuesday. We're getting to some really meaty content, hopefully. Massive value here. Come back tomorrow on Why Wednesday. Thank you guys. Have an awesome day. I'm Sean Callagy.